Good morning. I always got to check to see that the timer is running at the bottom, because when I'm recording the videos, there's a timer that comes on, and there's always this little pause where the screen freezes before it starts recording. So that's why you always catch me at the very beginning of the video. I'm looking down like this to make certain that the timer is actually ticking up, because it starts at 0 and then there's 1. And I have to do that. I get nervous. I think there was one time I actually began shooting a video, and then about 10 minutes into it I go, I should check to see if my mic is and I brought up the sound manager and the mic was muted. And I was like, oh, that was good. I just spent 10 minutes saying nothing. So, hi, how you doing? You know who this is. This is Cassie, for all the new people that have started following the blog and are wondering who this crazy blonde wench from Harrisburg is. Well, I have had an interesting week. I've had an interesting week. I've had an interesting morning. Most of it I've already written about, but I'll probably go over it again because I'm nuts today. I'm all hyped up. First of all, I have to point out that today is Twin Peaks Day, February 24th at 11:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, or it may have been Pacific Daylight Time. I'm not real sure. They never were clear about that, but at 11:30 on Pacific Time, that was when Dale Cooper entered the town of Twin Peaks. And we know that because he was recording a message to his secretary, Diane, and said, "Diane, it is 11:30 a.m. and I am entering the town of Twin Peaks." So there. So that means at 2:30, I have to remind myself to have a damn good cup of coffee when I get home. I've already had a cup of coffee, but it was from Burger King, so it was not a damn good cup of coffee. It was kind of a shitty cup of coffee, but I needed coffee this morning. So remember that. Yesterday was Laura Palmer Day, where she wrote in her diary, tonight I expect to be murdered, or tonight I expect to die. And she did. She was all wrapped up in plastic. So yesterday was Laura Palmer Day. Today is Twin Peaks Day. And if you happen to be in that part of Washington State, which is, I believe, around Skemosh, they're actually having a festival today. So, if you're in Seattle and you got nothing to do, get your ass out there and have some pie and have a damn good cup of coffee. And think about me because I told you to go out and do it. So, there you go. I've been up since about 4:30 this morning. I'm actually really tired. It is 9:16 as I record this. So I've been up for almost 5 hours now, and I'm tired. And this has been my sleep pattern for like the last week and a half. I'll go to bed around 11:30 or 12 or 12:30, and then sleep for like 2 hours, and then wake up and be wide awake. Well, kind of wide awake for an hour, hour and a half, maybe 2 hours, and then I'll go back to bed and sleep until like 8 or 9 o'clock sometimes. And part of it is due to the fact that I have the rashes on both knees. I mean, really bad rashes. And I also, in scratching the rash on my right knee, I just tore the hell out of it with my fingernails. So I'll wake up in the middle of the night and my knees will be itching ferociously due to this rash. And the rash, I believe, is coming from the fact that I've been wearing my gaskets and my knee pads real tight around my knees, and I've been doing a lot of sweating. You do sweat a lot, especially in your knees, because there's sweat glands behind the knees, and it gets all soaked down there. And when I'll take my gaskets and my pads off, you'll see it's just like, wrenching wet. So it's getting better, but it's still, I touch my knees and there's like all these little bumps and stuff from where everything's gotten irritated, and and you shave your legs, and so the hairs, they get perspiration and junk in there, and they get inflamed and everything else. So I've been putting lotion and anti-itch cream and all sorts of other crap on there too. Help with the matter, but I'm hoping it goes away soon. But the problem I have is I tend to wear my knee pads now, like, I don't know, 4 or 5 days out of the week. If I'm lucky, only 3, So you don't give the knees a chance to sort of recuperate. That's what I really need to do is spend like about a week without any knee pads on and no tights or no leggings or anything like that, and just keep putting lotion on them and letting them air out and letting them get some fresh air and all that good stuff. But no, not gonna happen anytime soon. And as you know, I talked about my doctor. Tuesday was my visit with my HRT doctor, and I found out the hard way that it was also going to be my last visit, which leaves me kind of sad, but I can understand why she's wanting to get out of the practice. She's not well, and it's her choice, and I'll find another doctor. She did write me prescriptions for both my estrol and for my spironolactone to last me like 3 years. I mean, literally. She wrote me 6 refills for estradiol, which it's a 6-month vial. So she's basically seeing to it that I've got enough for 3 years. Yeah. And the same thing with my my spironolactone. She wrote enough renewals that I'm good for about 3 years there. But I'll probably find another doctor before then. I hope. She was good. She was really good. She helped me. I mean, you have somebody like that in your life for 4 years. 3.5 years, actually. And it's hard. It's hard to let go. The really good news out of all of that was I dropped a lot of weight. I'm going to say it was actually more than 15 pounds. I went from 253 to 238, which is a 15-pound drop in 6 months. But I know the last time I'd went in to get a massage, the woman who usually was doing massages for me said that she thought I had gained between 12 and 15% more muscle in my thighs and in my glutes, which is your butt. And we all know muscle is heavier than fat because it's denser, so you don't need as much, but it weighs more. So I am going to go as far as to say I probably have lost maybe 20, maybe 25 pounds of fat, because I actually went down to York for practice on Thursday night, and one of their skaters who had not seen me in about 2.5 months, she skated up behind me and she said, "Wow, have you slimmed down?" She was talking about, she could see from my back profile, she said, you have slimmed down. I can really see it on you now. Because I was wearing a tank top that was kind of form-fitting. So I was like, yeah, I heard I lost weight and everything else. So 6 months of skating. There you go. And that's not even the hard 6 months of skating, because half of November, 6 weeks of that was actually closer to about 2.5 months. That was kind of simple. So there you go. It is a well-known fact that if you can do an hour's worth of just skating, and I mean skate, you don't have to skate fast, just keep skating, but you will burn 600 calories in an hour. Yes. But everybody tells me I can't stay up on skates. Well, neither could I. It was a good thing I never had video of my first attempts of getting up on skates because it was scary. I'll have to dig out some of that first freshie practice I filmed way back in June and let you take a look at it, because I'm sure there's a couple of pictures of me falling Because I know I did. I mean, it's like 9 months ago, I was all over the place. And now look at me. Yeah, now I'm scrimmaging. Yeah. I'm scrimmaging. That was an experience. That was also another reason why I had trouble sleeping the other night, because you're so amped up on adrenaline after that it's hard coming down. One of my teammates said she did not fall asleep until 3:30 in the morning because she was just like, woo, and she said she just could not rest. I had a couple of other teammates who said the same thing. It was like almost 2:30 in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning before they got to bed. And one of them had to get up at 4:30 to get ready for work, and she said she had only gotten 2 hours of sleep because she was just too amped up on adrenaline, afterwards. She just wanted to stay awake. And I have heard from players who've told me that is an issue after you bout, is that you tend to get so amped up that, one, it's hard to come down, and two, you don't start feeling the pain until the next morning. And I've been warned on that. They said, you're going to take some massively big hits. You are also going to give some massively big hits. You're not going to feel them, not even at the after party. But when you go home and wake up the next morning, oh boy, you're not going to want to get out of bed. And one of my other teammates did post that. She was posting from her phone that she hurt too much to get out of bed. And she was wondering if she had to get out. It's just like, yeah, it hurts. Just get up. It doesn't hurt me as much as it used to, but it still hurts, I woke up the next morning and I posted on Facebook, my whole body feels like a bruise. And it did. I mean, I've been showing off, these babies. That's from scrimmage practice, and that's from hitting drills. So, derby kisses. And I got a couple on my thigh. One woman has a big one on her butt. She says she fell right on her skate and she hit hard. And she said she blames the fact that she used to play softball, and when she would slide into base, she'd tuck her foot under her butt to protect it. And she said she kind of did that with the skate, and oops, it was a big mistake. I was like, yeah, you don't want to do that. You just got skate raped, as we call it. That's what they call it when you fall on your skate. We unceremoniously call it skate rape. And if you fall on your skate in a very particular part of your body, we call it a Geiner shiner. Geiner, of course, being slang for vagina. Vaginer. And there are women who have gotten the Geiner shiner really bad. They said it's like one of the worst experiences in the world to have that happen, because it hurts. It goes right up in the hot pocket sometimes, and yeah, you don't want that. Goes right up there. See all the things you're learning at Geiner shiner. And when I told her, I said, well, be glad you didn't get a Geiner shiner, and she's looking at me like, what the hell is that? And a couple of the other people, the vets, they knew what I was talking about. I said, that's when you fall on it and you get your skate wheel planted right up in your vagina. And she was like, so welcome to Derby. And I kind of live in fear of actually having one of those because, well, my anatomy is a little different down there. I would imagine if that happens to me, I'm going to be like, ugh. Just help me up. Ugh. I've actually fallen on my skate a couple of times, and it hurts. I fell on my skate wheel one time right on my butt. I was like, oh, that was painful. But I've also had a lot of other things. I mean, there's the scrimmaging, which was fun. I had one penalty. I mean, I got in a couple of good hits. I knocked out the jammer a couple of times. I knocked down a jammer once, but I got a penalty doing it because I did it illegally. I did what's known as a stop block. I planted my feet before I hit, and that's a no-no because you're giving yourself a lot more leverage. You have to keep your skates moving forward. Even if you're going forward really slowly, you still have to keep moving, and I didn't. I remember I kind of like chunked my left foot down to kind of halt my movement and then went like that. And then I heard the whistle blow after the jammer went down, and I heard the whistle blow, and I was like, no, I know who that's for. Heard Cassidy, stop block, report to the box. I was like, got it. I'm out. I have to remember not to even say got it. You just put up your hands like this and get off the track. Yeah, because some refs will take that as you're talking back to them. They'll give you an insubordination penalty, which is an additional 30 seconds in the box for insubordination, and it's another penalty. So, you get 7 penalties, you're out. I don't want to do that. I was pretty fortunate, though. That was the only penalty I had, like, in over an hour, and even one of the coaches, Ida, as I was skating toward the penalty box, she goes, oh, you got your first penalty. And I was like, yeah. Because they were keeping track. We had one girl on our team was like, she was just racking up penalties, and most of it was because of what they call illegal entry to the track. When she would come back from the penalty box, she was entering the pack the wrong way, and then you get called. She gets called a lot. She's a good jammer, but she gets called on cut track, which is you can't improve your position if you're knocked out of bounds. So if you step in front of the person who knocked you out of bounds, when you come back onto the track, that's called a cut track. You actually have to come in behind them. And that's where some of the play comes into play, where skaters will actually skate back like 30, 40 feet sometimes. And you got to go all the way back behind them to get back into play. So she was getting a lot of cut tracks. And then when she would come back from the penalty, she would enter the pack illegally, and you'd hear illegal entry, return to the box, and she'd have to go back in. And at one point, when my coach Roxy she was in charge of Team Black, she was asking who wants to jam, and someone said, how about her? The girl we're talking about, she goes, no, I don't want her jamming anymore because she was getting too many penalties. We actually had like a couple of jams in a row where we couldn't field a jammer because she was in the penalty box. So, but it was fun. Yeah, learned a lot. It wasn't so much that I didn't do as well as I had hoped, because I didn't. It was my first scrimmage. And even though the vets weren't supposed to be hitting us as hard as they could, some were. And I had a couple of vets who, like, the minute I'd start moving, all of a sudden, I feel myself getting pushed all over the place because they're trying to keep me off balance. And they know I'm the weak link in blocking, so yeah, why not do that? So, yeah, I got knocked all over the place. It was fun. It wasn't so much that I got upset because I didn't do well. I didn't get upset. I actually felt pretty good because of the things I could remember that needed to be done and being able to do things that I was supposed to do. One of which was when I did come back from the penalty box, I had to continue playing as a blocker because that's the way it works. If you go to the penalty box and then they call the jam, which is the point of action in which you play, you have to sit in the penalty box until the next jam starts. And then when you're released from the penalty box, you go back out and you play your position, either until you get another penalty, until the jam ends. So, I had to go back out. I played for probably about a minute and a half in the first jam, and then I had to go back out and play for about another minute and a half in the second jam. So I felt pretty good that I remembered all this stuff, and as we went along, I was getting better. I remembered to recycle to the front of the pack to get into position. When I came back in after being in the penalty box, I got right in and went up to the one blocker who was by herself, and I got my arm on her, and I said, let's brace. Where's the jammer? So we were good. But, sorry about her. I've stepped up my game a little bit. I have to show you some of my new things. Pay no attention to this mess behind me. Yeah, it's pretty bad. But, let me see if I can get this. There it is. That's my new hotness. Yeah. I'm pulling up my jeans here because I have Derby Girl problems with my jeans now. Which is the fact that they don't fit. Yeah, this is my new hotness. Moving my chair out of the way. This is a duffel bag. It's a rolling duffel bag, 33 inches, that I got off of Overstock, and with shipping, it was like $50. I mean, this is normally, by itself, the bag is $110. And on Overstock, it was like $46. Which, like I said, with shipping, it was right at $50. So I said, I need this. I need this in my life, because now I've got all my gear in here. I've got tools here. I've got wheels here. Up in the front here, I got my mouthpieces and wallets and keys and stuff. And I have tape, lots of tape. And then I have like all my medical stuff, braces. I've got an ankle brace in here. It's an ankle wrap, actually. I've got KT tape. But this is the nice thing I like, is that I can put all my gear in here. And the other thing I have is that this sleeve right here can hold all three of my clean canteens, which is 20 ounces of water each. And that's important because I got plenty of hydration. And then I have my scrimmage jerseys right here. And originally, all of this stuff was in this bag. I actually had my helmet tied to this strap, and I had to carry my skates in. I had like a lanyard that I carried them on, and I put them over my shoulder. This thing got heavy. Let me just tell you. This is a roller bag, so all I got to do is pick it up and that's it. And I put all the heavy stuff down here, so, the center of gravity is moved back toward the floor. And I got plenty of room to put all sorts of stuff in there. And if it gets to the point where, like, I want to take my video gear as well to about, which I probably will do, I can actually throw my tripods and my cameras in here as well. Because there's plenty of space. So I can take my tripods, I can take my cameras. I've got 2 tripods, I've got a video camera, I've got a regular digital camera, and I've got a box for the batteries and stuff like that. So I could throw all that stuff in here as well. I don't have to carry that. You should see me sometime when I was filming at Bouts. I'm like, or if I was bringing my film equipment to practice, I'm carrying like gear bag on one shoulder and the skates over one shoulder, and I'm carrying my tripods and everything else in another bag, and it was a pain in the butt. So that's that. And then I got these. I have new skates. I bought, these are the Bont Hybrid Boot, which is, surprisingly enough, it's actually like one of the best boots they make. And it does. It fits on my feet like a glove. These are my old toe stops, and these are the wheels off my other pair of skates, my Rydell Darts. I was actually starting to skate out of the darts And I do mean that literally. I was running into issues where I'd go to do a push off on my toe stop, and my heel was almost coming completely out of the boot. And a couple of times it actually did, which is when you're trying to get power on a push off and your foot's coming out of the boot, it's, you can't do it. You're all over the place. You're not getting any push. So these fit like they say, the proverbial, it fits like a glove. This fits right on your foot perfectly. And I'm getting a new pair of toe stops for these as well. I'm getting the Powerdyne Jupiter toe stops, which are supposed to be not very heavy, slightly bigger than the gumballs here, and a little bit more dense, so they last longer. But one of our coaches actually recommended getting the Jupiter, so that's what I ordered. I'm getting those next week. These will last. These are good. I'll keep these toe stops around just in case. But I actually wore down. This is the toe stop that was on my left skate, and it's actually wore down considerably further than the toe stop that had been on my right skate. I swapped them out because I tend to use my left foot to stop a lot. So these are real light. And a couple of my other teammates, one of my teammates was actually at the rink last night getting hers finally fitted. And she took them out for a spin on the track, and she said, oh man, she can't wait to give it a shot. But it was just too many people there last night. So I'm thinking of going to the rink today. I know it's going to be crowded, but I just want to start breaking these in. I mean, it's like, oh, come on, I got to start breaking these in. I'm like a kid now. So I had to go get new tools. Actually, I got a new tool. I bought two. I bought a crescent wrench and a 5/8 wrench. And that's why I have all these tools now. This is for like anything. And this is for my trucks, which are loose. So when I get to the rink, I'll make certain that I'm not going to take my entire gear bag with me. But I will make certain that when I get to the rink, I'll do this later. When I get to the rink, I'll take my 5/8 and tighten down my trucks to make certain that they're okay. Because they're real loose right now. That was one of the things that my teammate Shannon told me. She said, these things are real loose. You're all over the rink with them. Yeah, my jeans are real loose now, and I think that's partially it's a Derby Girl problem, partially it's I'm losing weight. One of the famous Derby Girl problems is that we can never find jeans that fit, simply because your thighs and butt tend to get bigger than your waist. So what they tell you now is, well, this is what's going to happen. You find a pair of jeans that will fit your thighs and your butt, and then you just buy a belt and belt the waist because it's never going to fit. And I'm actually starting to get there a little bit. I've lost weight. These jeans were size 24, and they're falling off of me now. So I'm actually down probably to like an 18-20 in jeans. So all that stuff I bought last year, none of it's fitting me now. And it's a real pain in the butt. So let's talk about riding. I've talked enough about Derby. Let's talk about riding. I only rode a little bit this week. I was still trying to get it in gear for riding. And one of the things that happens, though, is that I've been thinking a lot more about the story, which is something that for a while back at the end of last year, I kind of shut down on. I wasn't thinking about the story at all. I used to say that when I would walk to work, I'd often think about plotting out the story and different things in the story and all this other stuff. And then I just kind of shut down on that because I was just not in the mood to write at all. Well, lately this week, I've been doing a lot of thinking. And one of the things that I've been thinking on is the next vision that Annie and Carrie will have in Divination. I think I'd stated before they were going to have 3 visions. And if I hadn't stated that before, well, there's a spoiler for you. And I know pretty much what the next 2 visions are going to be. The thing of it is, this next vision has really been just like gnawing at me to get done. That I really want to write it. And I've actually considered the possibility of doing something I've never done before, which is write in a nonlinear progression. Just go in there and start writing. And then just do the excerpt on it and see what people think. Because without an introduction to it or knowing what's going to happen afterwards, both of which I know, the vision in of itself means very little. I've never really done that before. I know there are plenty of writers who like to write in a nonlinear fashion, one of which is George R.R. Martin, who has famously declared, that when he feels like writing about a certain character, he'll just write chunks of story around that character. He's done that a lot with the Song of Ice and Fire series, aka the Game of Thrones. And that's how he puts his stuff together. He writes stuff for the character because he's already plotted everything out, so he knows what's going to happen. So it's not like he's pantsing it. He is a plotter. So it's able for him to do that. I think there was once, a couple of times he's gotten off on tangents, I think due to pantsing, where he's ended up having to delay publishing something due to the fact that he came up with something new and decided to go with that. And then there are other writers who are quite linear. Isaac Asimov was like that. Isaac Asimov always said, even though he knew what his ending was going to be, he had to start at the beginning and go through to the end. And he said, to a sense, it was like, you know where the river's going to end. You have to go along with it to see where it goes. Stephen King, I believe, is also a linear writer. He writes beginning to end. When he puts down the first word, he keeps going in that direction until he gets to the end. He doesn't jump around. I'm trying to think of some other writers who are famous for being nonlinear. And one of the things that's great these days is if you have software like Scrivener, where, if you want to plot a novel out in Scrivener on the fly, you can. And I wouldn't even really have to say, what chapter is this? Because you don't have to put that in until you're ready to put it in as a chapter. I could actually set up a folder and call it a chapter and just call it chapter XX. And then write it outside of the main flow of the novel. And then leave it there. And then when I'm ready to put it into place, I've already got it written, so I just go and pop it in there, and it's ready to go. It's when you think about it, it's really kind of marvelous how software allows us to do this sort of thing nowadays. You could do it on a typewriter, but it wasn't as simple. Now you can just do it in a program and just move it wherever you wanted to. And the first novel, A for Advance, I'm not real sure. I'd have to go back and look. But I actually did a lot of moving around of that novel. There were parts of it that I had wanted to have happen earlier that I moved back to a later point in the novel, and vice versa. There were things that were happening much later that I moved up so that they could happen in a way I wanted them to happen. I moved quite a few chapters around in A for Advance. The chapter you probably would be most familiar with was when Carrie found out he had money. That was not supposed to happen right after they got back from Yule vacation. That was actually something that was supposed to happen quite early on in the school year. Like right around the 1st of October or so, not long after Annie, had her birthday, Carrie was going to find out that he had a butt ton of money. And I decided, no, that doesn't really fit with what's happened. So I decided to move it after they came back from Yule because it would actually work out with, well, now that he's doing inquiries on his family and their history, now's the time to tell him, oh, look, one of your ancestors left you some cash. That's how that came about. Because I had decided to write that in there about his grandfather wanting to know, talking about the family history, and Carrie deciding to help out to see if he could track down anything about this character. So it made sense to move Carrie's money discovery back to that time. Geez. I actually moved up the Day of the Dead attacks as well. I moved them up and then moved them back a week so I could get the time right, so I could get the view right. But they were actually going to take place like near the end of November. And then I moved them up to November the 1st, and then I realized daylight savings would still be in effect. So some of the scenes I wanted to write, I couldn't do that, so I actually moved the time back. No, I actually moved it up. It was actually supposed to take place on November the 8th. I take that back. It was actually supposed to take place on November the 8th, and I moved it up a week so that it would fit with the motif of what I was trying to do. I had a lot of stuff like that. It was quite interesting. And their operation with Helena, their first field op, was actually supposed to have taken place in like February, and it wasn't going to happen in not San Francisco, Kansas City. It was actually going to happen in another city, and I can't remember what city I was choosing for that. I think it was going to be someplace in Europe. And then I decided, you know what, this would be cooler if I moved it closer to the end of the year, because that way I didn't want the middle part of that story to feel rushed. And it would make sense to have all the reveal about Carrie's memories of what happened between him and Annie actually occurring before they went to Kansas City. Because you couldn't have had the one scene of them in the hotel room in Kansas City and let them have the dream together of being outside Carrie's house in San Francisco if Carrie's memory is, still contained. So that whole area, would have been cut out. Originally, their operation in Kansas City was supposed to have taken place before Carrie remembered everything he knew about Annie. And I said, that doesn't make sense. I mean, that was how I'd originally plotted it all out. And then when I started thinking about it, I said, it doesn't make sense because some of the stuff I want to write about while they're in Kansas City, it's just not going to work. Plus, they're really going to be pressed for time to get their training in, and it will make it seem as if the Guardians are just throwing this whole thing together somewhat haphazardly. It would have made them kind of look stupid, is really what it was. So I just swapped those two events and moved up Carrie's reveal, which was supposed to have happened in April. It would have happened actually about mid-April, a few weeks before Beltane. And I just sort of swapped them so that Carrie's remembrance of what was happening was occurring right around Ostara. And they had plenty of time then, a month, to prepare to get ready for Kansas City. So that's one of the advantages that Scrivener gave me. And I don't think I had to do that so much with the B-level novel. If anything, I just adjusted the timelines a little bit as to when certain events occurred. But, yeah, this one, I don't know. You could always tell me if you'd be interested in actually reading an excerpt of something that is going to happen a couple of months forward in the story. Right now, the novel is somewhere in mid-November 2013. This vision would actually happen somewhere around probably early February, like the first or second week of February 2014. So it happens after the events of the Polar Express and whatever Operation Annie's going on. So if you think you'd be interested in that, tell me. Because I really want to write this. And I kind of don't want to wait. That was one of the problems I had with the first novel and the second one. Is that since I was writing in a linear direction, and I knew there were certain scenes that I just wanted to get to real bad, and yet I had to sit there and wait like... In the case of the B-level novel, I mean, I had known for years about what was going to happen with Carrie and Carrie's, transition dream. And kind of the same thing that happened in the C-level novel with Carrie finally transitioning. I knew what those scenes were going to be like for years. And then when I start the novel, I'm like, I'm writing in a linear fashion. So I'm basically sitting on those scenes for months before I got to them. And I kind of kick myself now. Because I was like, I could have wrote those anytime I wanted. Really. I mean, I wouldn't have published them as excerpts, but when I think about it, it's like, I could have wrote those anytime I wanted. Why did I have to wait? Probably because they might have actually come out differently if I had just written them whenever I wanted to write them. There's a good point to that. But again, with software, it doesn't matter. Because what you do is you just take a copy of what you've already written, move it off to the side, which is called taking a snapshot in Scrivener, and then you just make modifications as you feel like it. And then you can compare the two to see if there are any further adjustments that are necessary. Again, software makes our job as writers easier. And if we can, why not exploit it? So I'm thinking of doing that. I'm thinking of doing it during this week, writing that scene out, so you guys can get a look at it and see. I think you'd find it interesting, you really would. If I play it out the way if I write it out the way I see it in my head, it's going to be an interesting scene. My kids all grown up. They're getting there. So I've rambled on a lot. I've rambled on about Derby. I've rambled on about writing. Rambled on about how I have software that I'm not using the way I should be using. Let's change that. Let's see what we're going to do. So hope to hear from you. And again, if any of you have any questions you want to ask me so I can blog about it, some interesting questions. It doesn't have to be anything spectacular, but it's like, you could ask me if I believe, Elon Musk as a billionaire should be shot into space because he's not giving his money over to feeding the poor, which is, some of my friends are lately on the huge kick of, if you're a billionaire, you should automatically die. I'm of the opinion, well, I'm not going to tell you the opinion, because if you want to know my opinion on that, ask me the question. What do you think about billionaires? Ask me that question and I'll write on it. But I'm not going to tell you anything more beyond that. Okay. So I will let you go. Have a good day, and I will see you around. Take care. Bye.